Today, I am confident that you will gain something out of our print insecurity technical webinar. There's no anxiety here, just good common sense policies to help you protect yourself from malicious offenders. And we hear more and more reports about them every day, don't we? So welcome. I'm Doc Balgi. Casey Cobb is my wingman. He just did the sales presentation a couple of hours ago. Hope you had a chance to check it out. But if you didn't, then you can see it again on the ACDI YouTube channel. All of our previous webinars are posted there, as well as on our website. And this one should be out next week. Now, the sales presentation explained why security is important. This one will discuss how to secure your print environment. Yep, we'll be doing a trivia question at the end of our presentation today for your chance to win a very cool ACDI t-shirt or polo. Could be a tough one, so make sure to pay attention. Let's get started. Security is on everyone's mind these days. Daily we hear about things being hacked, passwords compromised, even outdated operating systems running on computers in government locations. It's amazing. We have spear phishing, man-in-the-middle attacks. There's stuff going on all over the place. And since we deal with PaperCut, we're going to cover print insecurity by looking at securing the print infrastructure, making sure our workflows are secure, and finally, how about the output? If you want to be totally secure in your printing environment, then we'll need to address the physical piece of paper that comes out of the device. PaperCut's print security model covers all phases of the printing life cycle. Now, there are many security measures to be taken before a single document is printed. All parts of the print infrastructure should be secured, including workstations, mobile devices, servers, and networks. When considering end-to-end print security, it makes sense to start with the infrastructure that supports the printing processes. Think of the network and devices that support the print job from the time a user presses print to creating a printed document. To secure the printing infrastructure, we can break it down into three specific categories for today's discussion. They are authentication, server security, and device security. Central to many practices in security, and not just print security, is the ability to uniquely and accurately identify the end user. Desktop should require users to authenticate themselves against a centrally managed source of accounts, like Active Directory, eDirectory, LDAP, Open Directory, just to name a few. This way, you can attribute jobs to these users and control access to various devices as needed. Now, at a software level, PaperCut leverages Active Directory security groups for access control. Administrators can be set up with different levels of access. For example, system administrators may have access to all application features, while office staff could be limited to running reports and accessing only a subset of all features, like shared account management. PaperCut uses SSL/HTTPS for communication and remote web-based administration, ensuring sensitive data like passwords and account information is secured over the network. Session cookies are securely flagged so as to prevent their interception or modification for malign purposes. Internal passwords, if used, are stored in a bcrypt hashed format, and that's seeded by username, salted with a random salt. All security-related development is internally assessed, and R&D is conducted to ensure we're meeting best practice. Authentication is done with something you know, like a password, something you have, like a proximity card, or something you are, like your fingerprint or retinal scan. Now, we typically deal with the something you know and something you have, and soon we'll be able to offer the something you are capability with our fingerprint reader. Combining two of these methods together is called two-factor authentication. Did you know that you could turn on two-factor authentication in PaperCut? You can do that with identity numbers and with card swipes. Both methods can also use a PIN code for additional security. You may recall hearing about this last year. A teenager forced 150,000 unsecured printers to print warnings about being part of a botnet and leaving port 9100 open to external connections. Well, after the incident, experts recommended including closing port 9100 and adding an admin password to your printer. Now, there are other ways to install print drivers without using RAW and port 9100. LPD is still widely used. Even though it's been deprecated on Windows servers, PaperCut includes an LPD service that you can install. You can also set up IPPS printing to really lock down the print system and ensure jobs are not intercepted. This next feature is talked about quite a bit during the PaperCut installation. It's actually called the forgotten task, print queue security. After you install a print driver that you need, then you should set up Windows restrictions on that queue. And to restrict Windows print queue security permissions, just right-click a printer and select Printer Properties, select the Security tab, and then Creator Owner User. In the permissions area, clear the Manage Documents checkbox and click OK, then just perform these steps for each of the other monitored printers. Now, this is the principle of least privilege. Don't grant any user access to a server queue unless they explicitly need it. Now, this one falls under the same thing as, is the printer plugged in and is the power on? Obvious statements, yet the culprit of many types of issues. And the same thing with the copy room. If it's open, then it's subject to abuse. And if you didn't change the admin password, then you're asking for trouble because it's really hard to find default passwords, isn't it? There's this thing called Google. In the security world, a local attacker is the strongest attacker. Data can be sent to and received from a local printer by USB or parallel cables. Exploiting USB printers requires the attacker to gain physical access to the device. Gaining physical access to a printer can generally be considered as less hard than it is for other network components like servers or workstations. Physical security. Prevent theft. Disable inbound USB port or ports to prevent direct printing over USB. Protect the network connection. Even lock the paper trays. Service account versus user level account equals hacker's prime target. Limiting routability of network traffic from a printer subnet can significantly reduce the impact of an infected rogue device. Use VLANs or subnetting to ensure that the only device that can see the printers is the print server. This ensures that you can control access to the device via your server. Now, this can also be achieved by using access control lists, or ACLs, for account level permissions. IP filtering for preventing access from specific IP ranges will do it too. You can enforce the use of HTTPS with PaperCut by redirecting to HTTPS/SSL by using HTTP Strict Transport Security, or HSTS. Now, in the past, contact to PaperCut servers to check for updates, send error reports on user command, or download news content was performed over regular HTTP. From version 17.2.3 forward of PaperCut, all outbound contact is made using SSL over HTTPS, minimizing the risk of these communications being intercepted. Most organizations set aside a computer to play the role of the print server, which centralizes printing and makes available all the print resources to the end users. Now, it's important to consider the security of this server to ensure its availability and reliability and to reduce the risk of it being compromised. From an operating system perspective, updates and patches should be regularly applied to address known vulnerabilities, hardening the system. In addition to regularly updating virus definitions on your print servers, print drivers should be kept up to date as part of regular maintenance. The logical location of the server in the network should also be considered as a way of being able to reduce the attack surface and the threat of attack. Print servers should be located on the internal network, protected from the internet and DMZ by firewalls. IP addresses on the internal network must not be reachable from an outside network. MFD manufacturers are offering more and more options for connectivity like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi Direct, NFC printing. Now these features are really nice, but from a security standpoint, they add to the complexity and the risk surface. Make sure you know the capabilities of your devices and you know what risks you're open to. Change the default password to the admin control panel webpage and use encrypted connections when accessing the printer admin control panel. Many modern MFDs have a feature to encrypt all partitions of the hard drive that might contain customer data with Advanced Encryption Standard, or AES encryption. You should ensure this feature is enabled. Some MFD manufacturers bundle these features, print job deletion, data overwrites, and data encryption, into data security kits, which might be optionally purchased. Unless otherwise noted, firmware should also be updated on the devices to maintain device security per the manufacturer. Next up is for you to secure your print workflows, and this can be done by using print policies, secure print release, preventing the release of print jobs to a printer in error, print privacy, and job timeouts. In a standard printing environment, print jobs are sent directly to the printer for immediate printing. A large proportion of these jobs are typically not required and end up left on the printer or put in the waste bin. Any jobs not collected immediately are a security risk, if the documents are sensitive or confidential especially. Secure print release is a simple solution that places jobs in a holding state until the user authenticates and releases the job at the printer. Users should be able to either manually select jobs to release or have jobs automatically print after successful authentication. Sensitive jobs will then not sit uncollected at the printer. Secure print release, sometimes called mailbox printing, is an important feature to consider when designing your print workflow. This feature allows the user who printed the document to release the document only when they are physically located in front of the MFD or printer. Most MFDs support this functionality. However, to achieve a consistent user experience across your fleet of devices, a print management solution, let me think of one, something like PaperCut is definitely recommended. Now, PaperCut also offers Find Me printing. Find Me printing provides a roaming print solution where users print to a single queue. All print jobs are then pulled to the specific printer at which a user identifies themselves, typically by accessing using a swipe card. Secure print release is an essential capability of a secure printing environment, but what happens when jobs are released to a printer that is in an error state? For example, a printer that has a paper jam or it's out of toner. What would happen if the printer error got resolved and these jobs started printing automatically in the absence of an authorized user? These jobs should not print automatically when the printer error is resolved after the user has walked away. PaperCut offers the ability to prevent the release of jobs when a printer is in error. When the printer error is resolved, the user must then re-release the job, thus giving control back to the user about when their job prints and eliminating the possibility of sensitive data being leaked. Gossips are relentless. The last thing you want is to have weeks of secretive work all undone because the document titled Surprise Employee Bonuses.docx is seen sitting in a print queue waiting to be printed. Where possible, you should hide your sensitive data. Well, you can solve this via a complex LPD, LPR setup. PaperCut allows you to hide the document names either at an individual print queue level or across your entire print server. Your employees' surprise bonuses will remain a surprise now. Print output left sitting in a printer tray is not the only way sensitive print data can be accessed by someone other than the owner. Spool files stored on the print server waiting to be released may also be viewed if accessed by malicious individuals. Jobs should be automatically removed from the hold release print queue after an appropriate period of time. This also allows you to reduce the load on your print server and save paper and toner by eliminating printing of jobs that are no longer needed. PaperCut allows you to define how long a print job stays in this hold release print queue before it's automatically deleted. Keeping information secure is really never easy, and it gets a whole lot harder once it's in a printed form. All's not lost, however. There are several technologies and best practices available that can significantly improve the traceability and security of printed documents and prevent document theft. As users are in control of printed documents, security measures for printed documents must effectively drive user behavior. For example, a policy document sitting in a drawer is unlikely to prevent a private medical record being left behind in the hospital cafe. But if the medical record contained a prominent digital signature that could easily trace the document owner, more care would be taken by that person before printing the material and abandoning it at a public place. Document security best practice is to use a range of complementary measures that includes audit trails and reports of printing activity, watermarking and digital signatures, electronic archiving of printed documents. The audit log retains a complete history of administration changes to a user. These records capture the date, details, and the user who performed the operation. The application log retains a complete history of system events like errors, notifications, and alerts. At the user level, the job log retains all of the print, copy, fax, and scan jobs, capturing information about the user, date, and details for each job. The transaction log is a record of all of the financial transactions, including print job charges and account balance transactions. Yes, as a general rule, most major operations, such as editing printer details, creating, deleting, modifying user accounts, are audited. These audit records appear in the app log with a date, details, and the user who performed the operation. But having said that, a full-level system administrator with read-write file access could, in theory, edit data files directly to modify the audit trail. Standard limited rights PaperCut-only administrators accessing via the web interface cannot modify these records. Our document watermarking functionality can be easily leveraged to inject a digital signature into every printed page. This signature is generated by combining key print job attributes like time of print, username, printer name, document name, with a secret key using a cryptographic algorithm to create an encoded string which is unique for each document. Both the MD5 and SHA-1 message digest algorithms are available to transform these elements into unique signature strings, allowing the degree of cryptographic security to be configured. The resulting signatures can be used to trace printed pages back to their users of origin, allowing you to follow up undesired or unlawful transmission of classified content. As of version 17.1 of PaperCut, watermarks can be applied across the full page such that signatures are visible over the entire printed document. This renders the removal of a signature from the printed page impossible. Now, typical uses would include owner identification, student assignments, tracking an organization's physical documents, identification and source tracking, content ownership and copyright, and behavioral change. Adding a watermark is easily done. It can be configured per printer. As shown, this feature is enabled by selecting a printer and scrolling down to the advanced configuration area. And here you can modify your text and its position on the page. For full page, You can't select any of the options. By default, the watermark will print in 14 points with medium grayscale. Only PCL6 and PostScript drivers are supported. In text, you'll enter the text to be printed in the watermark. You can use macro substitution variables too, like %user% and %date% for a complete list. You can see the substitution variables / macros. Gray level determines how dark or light the text will be. Medium is the default. Light is just viewable. Font size is listed in points. This determines the watermark text size. And then you have the horizontal and vertical position. That's the distance in millimeters from the top, bottom, left, or right of the page. And you can select one of the following, then enter the number in millimeters. The ability to electronically archive printed documents also adds another layer of print output security. With electronic archiving, the print log is augmented by an image of the printed document, allowing for complete traceability. For example, an archive can positively identify who printed an incriminating or offensive document, since the print log includes the contents of the print output. PaperCut's print archiving empowers approved administrators to browse and review the content of print activity within their environment. Alongside the powerful tracking and reporting functionalities built into PaperCut, this gives systems administrators a wide range of auditing capabilities, like storing historic records of all printed content, viewing past print jobs in a web browser, having fine-grained access control to archive content, downloading the original spool file for reprinting with 100% fidelity, and enabling or disabling archiving for selected printers or users. The print archiving system has 3 processes: the job archiving process, archive access and preview process, and the overnight management process. Things to consider before enabling this is disk space implications, privacy and data access, CPU load, that's particularly on low-resourced VMs, and the additional load on backup storage. PaperCut was developed from the ground up with security in mind. With a strong heritage in the education market, the software has been battle-tested and security-hardened over years of student attacks at schools and universities around the world. PaperCut retains a strong security culture with both proactive and reactive security practices built into the company's processes. We regularly review third-party components for security vulnerabilities. All incoming security reports are immediately reviewed by our PaperCut security team, and any mitigating or defensive workarounds are put in place, fixes implemented, and published typically within days. We respectfully recommend that you look for strong security credentials with any print software you introduce into your workflow. Specific security hardening measures used by PaperCut and other security-minded solutions include process isolation. Now, print management software should run in isolated processes away from the operating system kernel. Process should be run under the minimum necessary user privileges. Secured APIs. Public APIs should have multiple layers of security, and PaperCut uses authentication tokens coupled with IP address filtering to ensure that API calls are properly authenticated and are from a trusted source. Code signing. Your installers and code should be code signed by the vendor to give assurances that you are running unmodified code that is authored directly by the vendor. Sandboxing. When there's even a small risk that aspects of the solution could become compromised, PaperCut works to engineer the solution to anticipate the threat and contain any damage. Sandboxing is one method where VMs, or process-level isolation techniques, are used to add layers into the system so that a compromise in one area or component doesn't open up a whole system. Secure web pages. Web pages should have built-in protections against SQL injection, cross-site forgery, and cross-site scripting attacks. Directory services like Active Directory, LDAP, and others should be leveraged to authenticate users in preference to storing passwords in the print management system. If users are defined outside a directory service, like guest printing accounts, the password should be securely encrypted. Once again, Papercut uses bcrypt for this purpose. And a fail-closed design. An important security principle is to shut down access, such as the network connection from an MFD to the authentication server whenever a failure occurs. With fail-open design, a simple action like removing a network cable could render a device open to attack. Practical and proven methods are available to secure your print system. We recommend a multi-layered security strategy that addresses vulnerabilities before, during, and after each document is printed. Securing your print infrastructure through defensive network configuration, secure print queues, and protecting device access will help ensure you have a robust print system even before the first job is printed. Securing your print workflows through print policy, secure print release, and managing jobs released to a printer in error are effective and widely used tools with the out-of-box solutions readily available. Securing your print output using a combination of print audit logs, watermarking with digital signatures, and electronic archiving will help drive correct user behavior and force accountability for printed documents. A comprehensive print management solution, one like Papercut, that comes to mind, will help organizations implement many of these best practices in a cost-effective way to achieve a secure print system. And there we have it. Good policies and procedures to ensure your printing environment is not insecure, but very secure, which will make us all secure as we go to bed at night. We'll get to the trivia question and open chat in just a moment. I just want to thank you for joining us today for another ACDI technical webinar. I'm Doc Balchi.